Yes, we are live. Yes, we are live. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with this thing. It's not even working. Thank you so much for joining us for the Good Fight. We are live right here at 7 o'clock as always. Always 7 o'clock right here and live on Facebook for the Good Fight. Where are my lights? Thank you all for joining us. My mama is in the bed. I'm having some technical difficulties. I should have known that's what it was. Okay, there are my lights. I was looking for my lights. Where are my lights? Thank you all so much for joining us for the Good Fight. We are so glad that you are here every single week. Those of you who join us live, those of you who join us during some other rhythm, some other part of the rhythm of your life. We are just grateful that you take the time out to have this conversation, to respond to this conversation, to react to this conversation, to challenge this conversation. However you show up is fine with us. And as a matter of fact, there are ways that you can engage with the Good Fight. One of the ways that you can engage, I bet this hotel. I knew that was hotel. Hotel. I want to call you again. I'm going to call you tomorrow. I like talking to you on the phone. I'm going to call you tomorrow. I be too tired on Tuesday nights, but I'm going to call you tomorrow. Thanks for showing up. One of the ways that you can engage is to locate yourself in this story, find out where you are, because this story is about you. It's about every one of us. And we are showing up in different spaces, in different seasons of our lives, in different perspectives, in different lived experiences. But you are somewhere in this story. Find yourself. And then interrogate yourself. Is this where you want to be? Do you like being where you are? Would you like to do something different? Would you like to help other people do something different? Like, would you like to share your story? Like, whatever that is, have that conversation with yourself, analyze yourself, examine yourself. Another way that you can engage is to look through a window where you realize that this is not my story. I was listening to Katie this morning talking about her dad and how he would go out and purchase menstrual products for his 3 daughters who were all menstruating at the same time on a similar cycle in the house. And I was like, baby, that's so far removed from my Black daddy. So sometimes we are offered the gift of someone else's story, and we need to just receive it in the spirit of giving that it is offered, and then let the spirit do whatever it's going to do, whenever it's going to do it, however it wants to. A third way that you can engage is to walk through a door. Hopefully these conversations will live in you beyond this 1 hour, that even tomorrow, even next week, even 2 months from now, even next year, something will happen that will trigger your mind to say, wait a minute, I remember that conversation. And then you can go from there. You can also comment right here. Let us know what you are thinking and how you are feeling, and we can have the conversation together as a community, talking to each other, just helping each other work it out. That's all we're trying to do, is work it out together. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to say Sawubona. See, I forgot to say Sawubona this morning. I want to say Sawubona to you. It's in the spirit of oneness that we gather in this place. We are connected by our humanity, and there's nothing that we can do to change that. What we can do is figure out a better way of living into that, because we're not doing a good job right now. We are absolutely positively not doing a good job being humans one to another. So we've got to figure out how to live into the inexplicable. Like, I don't know why we were created. Well, I do believe we were created for community. How do we live into community? How do we love each other in a way that is beyond religion, beyond all of the isms, beyond all of the constructs, but just in celebration of who we are as humans? And so I want to make sure that you know that you are welcome in that spirit of oneness. The spirit of oneness does not mean that we are of the same mind. We are not one in the mind. So we have different thoughts, and that is okay. And so that's what this space is about. You being able to be liberated in this space to say and feel and think whatever it is you say and feel and think. And we'll have the conversation and we'll see how it moves us all forward together. So I have been thinking about forgiveness for a very long time. When I say a very long time, I mean a very long time. And I have been wanting to bring the conversation to this space, but haven't been able to figure out the direction. Like I know what I don't like about forgiveness. I know what I understand about forgiveness. Like I just wasn't sure I was ready to bring it to the space, because I try to be as prepared as possible so that I can let go and then just kind of flow with whatever y'all got going on. But I wasn't able to let go. So I said, no, I'm going to wait and I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to listen. And then finally, finally, I'm like, okay, this is it. I am ready to talk about forgiveness. Let me just be upfront and just put it on out there that I don't believe that forgiveness is necessary. I absolutely do not believe that forgiveness is necessary for my life, for me to be whole, for me to be well, for me to heal. I do not think that forgiveness is a requirement. I know that we have been taught to forgive, but it is difficult for me to own that as a true and just principle for my life, considering the contexts that we use forgiveness in. When I think I've talked about before the art of the apology, how there's this script that we can follow to apologize to a person that is devoid of emotion. It is devoid of accountability. It is devoid of responsibility. It is just something that we say so that we can figure out how to get past this moment, past this news cycle, so that we can go on with our lives, regardless of the trauma or the harm that we have caused other people. So we've talked about that apology, and that apology is linked to forgiveness for sure. But I know that we have been taught that if we do not forgive, and I didn't even think about that scripture until now. Uh, it might be in the Lord, what they call the Lord's Prayer. If I don't, it's like, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And so this idea that I've got to forgive you because I know that I too am going to be in need of forgiveness. So how can I be in a posture to want and need and ask for forgiveness if I am not ready to offer that forgiveness? And so it's this idea of reciprocity, this mutual aid to our souls, that we say we want to care for each other on a very deep level. So I'm going to put myself in the position of needing grace and extending mercy, needing mercy and extending grace. Like I'm going to put myself there even before I get there, because I know that it is inevitable for me to be in a place where I'm going to need somebody's forgiveness. And so even though I can understand that theoretically, I do not believe it is something that we can live out in practice, because evil exists among us. And there are some people around us navigating this world with us who are pure D evil, pure E. I don't know where I got D, pure E evil. Let me see what Lois is saying. Some hurts cut so deep that forgiveness is not even in the picture. Some hurts cut so deep that forgiveness is not even in the picture. And even though I agree with you, I believe that the world has conditioned us to believe that no matter what, no matter how deep the cut is, we are supposed to forgive. Because if I don't forgive you, Jesus won't forgive me. And so if I'm going to live this life of being faithful and I'm going to be true to the way that we call it Christianity, but it started out as the way. If I'm going to be true to the way, then I must incorporate forgiveness at all costs. And so we hear these stories. I watch crime shows all the time. I listen to them actually. Sometimes I have to stop and say, wait a minute, what? Look at this. But most of the time I'm listening to them. And it is amazing how some evil person can kidnap, rape, murder, decapitate a person's child or loved one or partner, and they will say, well, I know I have to forgive, so I forgive them because I have to. I forgive them because I've been taught to. I forgive them because that's what I learned. Like, so it's clear to me that they aren't there, but they feel like they have to say it. And so I don't agree. I agree with you, Lo. Sometimes it's just not possible. And it ought to be okay. And for you to tie forgiveness to my wholeness, for you to tie forgiveness to my character. If I don't forgive you for the evil that you've done, for the havoc that you have wreaked, for the pain that you have caused, for the trauma that continues to reverberate, for generational, for you to say that I cannot, that God will not accept me if I don't forgive the evil that you do to me, I can't get with that. Especially coming from a heritage, my ancestry. When you think about Black folks enslaved on this oil, African, what I call true African Americans, y'all kidnapped us from Africa and brought us over here and said, you didn't even say we were Americans, but you brought us to America. So we are Africans in America. And then we are dealing with situations where our children were stripped from our bosom. And you told us, you being the slave masters, that we need to sing a song so that we could be happy, because you didn't like the sound of our wailing. You didn't like the sound of our crying. You didn't like the sound of our despair. So you wanted us to make you feel good in the midst of you tearing our children from our arms and separating our families. When I come from a history of that kind of trauma that I still carry in my cells, you're not going to make me believe that if I don't forgive you for doing that to me, then God will not accept me. I cannot own that kind of theology, and I will not. I'm working constantly to dismantle it, and I'm devoted to it. I'm devoted to it. Let me see what Lo says. Some say that only applies if you are a follower of Jesus. Some say that only applies if you are a follower of Jesus. Well, let's think about that then. So then what kind of God is Jesus that would require that? I'd rather go, tell me some other gods, because I'd rather be with the other gods. If this is the kind of Jesus that says, I will not love you unless you allow people to treat you any kind of way. And they don't have to be accountable, because this is what we say. We say that I forgive you for me. It's not even for you, it's for me. Why do I need forgiveness? I don't need it. I don't need this. So yeah, give me another Jesus, because I would rather have that one than a Jesus who says I have to allow people to do whatever they want to do to me, and I can only be acceptable to Christ, to Jesus, if I say, oh, well, it's okay, I forgive you. I only owe forgiveness. I only owe myself forgiveness, is what Triana says. I only owe myself forgiveness. That reminds me. So my lover and I were having a conversation one day. It was after we had gotten into it. We get into it a lot, y'all. We get into it a lot. But I felt like he had intentionally harmed me. And I felt like he had intentionally harmed me because he lied to me. So I do think that lies are harmful. But in my case, everybody that I am in deep relationship with, I tell you up front, I hate liars more than I hate white racists, more than I hate the system of racism, more than I hate the system of whiteness. Now, I'm being hyperbolic, of course, because nothing trumps those two. But I'm saying to you, listen, I can't deal with it. It's no need for it. We are grown. We are intelligent. We are capable of being able to communicate. We have the skills. We have the vocabulary. We have the patience. We have the understanding. We have the grace. We have the self-awareness to know, well, I can't talk to you right now, but I'll circle back to this conversation. There's no reason for you to lie. And not only would he lie, but you would volunteer lies. Like, I ain't even asked you nothing, and you lie. And of course, what happens with a lie? Sooner or later, it is going to come to light. So I find out that you unnecessarily lied to me. And I'm just like, you know what? So we're having the conversation about it, and he starts apologizing. And I said to him, you don't need to apologize to me. You need to apologize to yourself. Because you've let yourself down, because this is not the type of man that you say you want to be. This is not the type of man that you claim you want to present to the world. This is not the type of man that you say God called you to be. And yet this is how you operate. So don't apologize to me. You need to work on yourself. So I agree with you 100%. I only owe myself forgiveness. So this is me. And that's another thing that we do. Let's think about, and I've said this before, let's think about David in the Bible. We talk about David all the time, and we talk about David in a way in which we own David's story. So because David says, against thee, talking about God, and against thee, and David would necessarily be talking about God, because David did not understand Jesus in the way that we did. The Old Testament had no concept of this Jesus that we're talking about in the way that we talk about Jesus. So David says to God, against thee and thee only have I sinned and done this evil in thy sight. And so then he goes on to talk about how what a sinner he is, and how I do like this part, restore the joy of my salvation. So all of this is in Psalm 51, and so this is David's story, and David is telling this story because Nathan has come to him and called him out. David turned out to be, yeah, we talk about David being a man after God's own heart. We love saying that David is a man after God's own heart, but we don't like saying that David was a rapist. We don't like saying that David was a murderer. We don't like saying that David was a conspirator. We don't like saying those things, but that's what happened. David raped Bathsheba, got her pregnant, lost that baby, and then he puts her husband on the front line so that he can be killed. So he conspired to have him killed. So he would be in the law of our land, he would be convicted of first-degree murder, because it's premeditated murder. And so Nathan comes to David with this parable. If there was only one, if you had one thing that you loved more than anything else, one thing, and everybody knew that you had one thing that you loved more than anybody else, and somebody had the audacity to steal that from you, how would you feel? And David was like, oh, I'd go get them. Oh my goodness. Oh, let me tell you what I would do. And Nathan is like, but that's you. Bathsheba's husband had one woman that he treasured, and you took it. And so now David is consumed with guilt because he sees himself. That's why it's important for us to be in relationship with people who are not yes people. We need to be in relationship with people who will help us see ourselves by telling us the truth about ourselves. That's who we need to be in relationship with. I don't need to be in a relationship with somebody that's going to always try to make me feel good. Wait, Lo said, oh, David was also bisexual. Come on, Lo. Now you know you about to make people mad up in here. David was also bisexual because he said to Saul's son, he said, I love you more than the love that I have for a woman. It's amazing to me, and that's what we're talking about. This is a great segue into what we're talking about tonight. It's amazing to me the performance that we do, the calisthenics that we contort our bodies into to try to interpret these scriptures in any other way than what they are. What else you gonna do with a man who says, I love you with a love that's greater than the love I have with a woman? What else is that other than bisexuality? We gotta stop making this stuff up. We gotta stop making it up. And so here we are today, wanting to talk about forgiveness in the context of performance. And I'm telling you what I know. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm not telling you what somebody else told me. I'm not telling you somebody else's story that they share with me, and I'm changing the names. I am telling you what I have lived. Okay, this is what I have lived. And I've been a pulpit pastor. I've been to seminary, and I was once being groomed to be a church planter. Right? So they wanted me to start a church. So what would we call that in this modern age? I would be apostolic, because we have a tendency to separate the disciples and the apostles, and we say the apostles were those who started churches, and the disciples are those who were followers of the teachings of those who started the churches, the teachers, those who followed the teachings of Jesus. So I would have been apostolic because I was going to start a church. And in being groomed in that way, there were lots of conferences that I would go to. There were lots of conversations and convenings that we would have to talk about not just how to start a church, but how to maintain the church, cycles of the church, how to get people involved in the church, how to get people to stay in the church once they get in the church, how to pay attention to the behaviors of people so that we can make sure that we are linked to them just in case something goes wrong. We can catch it before they end up leaving or taking their money. So all of these conversations we were having. And so one of the things what that is rooted in, if we want to just bottom line.com it, then it's about performance. As a pastor, I've got to perform in a way that draws you in, and I got to keep performing in a way that keeps you there, right? And so I got to figure that out. So what is my job and my role as a pastor? My role is to figure out how to get you connected to Christ. How can I get you connected to Christ so that you can become a disciple, so that you can transform the world, right? Like that's for Christ. That's what you're going to do. You're going to convert the world for Christ. So how do I do that? I've got to tap into your emotions. So how do I do that? I've got to be able to tell the stories that tug on you. I got to be able to meet you where you are. I got to be able to I'm got to be like Paul. I got to say something that compels you to Christ. I got to say something that makes you say, I don't have any other choice but to walk down this aisle. I've got to get there, and I've got to do it in a way that I got to meet all these people at the same time, right? So I don't know how many, it don't even matter if it's 10 people at church. 10 people are coming with 10 different lived experiences, 10 different needs, 10 different prayers. And I've got to figure out how to preach one message rooted in Jesus Christ that I believe I'm being helped with by the power of the Holy Spirit that touches every single one of them in a way that makes them say yes to the Lord. And then if you're a Baptist, in my home, the way I was brought up, what does the pastor say? Come give the pastor your hand, but guide your heart. So you got to come down that aisle. You're going to shake the hand, give you the right hand of fellowship to get you into the church. So I've got to figure out how to do this. And so when I was in seminary, again, I'm not telling you what somebody told me. I'm telling you what I know. When I was in seminary, Zan Holmes, I was in seminary in Dallas, Southern Methodist University. That was the campus. But the name of the School of Theology is Perkins. So I graduated from Perkins School of Theology, but it says I graduated from Southern Methodist University because that's the campus in Dallas, Texas. Zan Holmes was the preacher, baby. He had a big old church. I can't even remember the name of his church, but his name was Zan Holmes. He taught preaching. He was a preaching professor at Perkins, and everybody wanted to go to Zan Holmes' class. Everybody wanted to go to Zan Holmes' class. And so that was in seminary. So we were taught how to preach. Okay. But I did not know that I was called to preach on a deep level. I thought that I heard the call, and so I'm just getting ready to do what a lot of people do. I'm just going to go tell the pastor that I was called. He going to let me do my trial sermon. We're going to move on. And so that's what happened. And then I enrolled into the church school. Before I went to seminary, we were in the church school. So the church school is a bunch of pastors who get together and they decide to be teachers. They create this school. It's not accredited or anything like that. It's just something we do within the denomination. I was AME at the time, African Methodist Episcopal. And I was going to this local, this in-house church school, training school I don't know how often we had to go. We had to travel to Sarasota, travel wherever. And they wanted the women, when we showed up, they wanted us to wear white shirts and black skirts so that we could kind of have like a uniform on, kind of like a man would wear a suit. So that was going to be our suit. They wanted us to wear blazers and all of that. So they wanted us to assimilate to being men. Now we women, everybody know we women, and we in the church, Methodism allows women to preach, which is why I became Methodist, because Baptists did not. And so we're like, but they wanted us to be like, no, but you need to look like, you need to look like a man with your suit on. And not only that, one of the things that we were taught at this homegrown school, not in seminary, at this homegrown school, was that because we were women, when we get excited in our preaching, then the octave, the tone of our voice raises an octave, and it gets to be so high that it offends the ears of folks, because it's almost like we're screeching. So what we need to do then, because we know that everybody knows that when you get excited, your voice raises, you get higher, your decibels get higher, so they increase. So what you need to do is you need to start off in a lower register. Start off in a lower register so you'll have somewhere to go that does not hurt people's ears when you get excited. This is what I'm being taught in the seminary. Because remember, I got to get the people. I got to get them. I got to captivate them. And you can't captivate them if you hurt in their ears. So you got to figure out. So all of this is about learning and behaving and performing. And so I was actually up there first giving honor to God, who is the head of my life. I appreciate, thanks be to God, glory. Like, I'm really trying to practice this because this is what I'm being taught. I get to seminary and they still teaching us to perform, but it ain't got nothing to do with your voice level. It ain't got nothing to do with your decibels. I learned that from Zan Holmes. But so all of it is about, every bit of it is about how do you perform in a way that people cannot resist coming to know Christ through your preaching. How do you do that? And so I started saying, I didn't call it performing. I called it tap dancing. I've always used that phrase. No matter where I am, when I am in white space and I have to say certain things in a certain way because it's my job and I'm getting paid for it, and this is what I do, then I say, okay, I got to go tap dance for the white folks today. I got to go tap dance on my job. Like, that's what I would say. And not just for white folks. Sometimes I have to tap dance for my mama. And so that's what I would call it. And somebody laughing at me. Yes, I was up there talking about first giving honor. Well, let everybody. What I used to say when I used to get up, the first thing I used to say, somebody ought to say, amen up in here. Amen. Praise the Lord, somebody. Praise the Lord, anybody. And so I'm up there, praise the Lord, somebody. Praise the Lord, anybody. Oh my goodness, the stuff that we had to do, the stuff that I did. And so I'm tap dancing. And so that is still happening. And I really didn't set it in the context of forgiveness until what went down in Mississippi. If you are following the case in Mississippi of Eddie Parker and Michael Jenkins, these were two Black men in Mississippi who were in a home where a white woman lived, and they were actually caring for this white woman, but the people in the neighborhood would see them going into this house, and they called the police and said, oh, it's some suspicious behavior happening in this home. All of this, anybody who's paying attention to the history of race in America as it relates to Black folks and white folks, we got a history of race as it relates to anybody who is non-white, but in this case, talking about Black folks and white folks, suspicious behavior, just living while Black. Oh my goodness. Recently, all of the situations we've had where people were accosted because they were having a barbecue, they were slimming, they were campaigning, like they were drinking coffee, they would sleep in a college dormitory, all just living. It's a suspicious behavior for us. So they would call based on suspicious behavior. So these 6 men, in law enforcement, police officers, named themselves the Goon Squad, and they named themselves that because they prided themselves on being more brutal in their interactions, especially with Black folks. So they show up at this house, they break into the house, they assault the people, they try to sexually assault the 2 men, Eddie Parker and Michael Jenkins. They try to sexually assault them, they beat them, they dehumanize them. Like, all of this is happening in this house. And one of them, Michael Jenkins, is he's being tortured by one of the Goon Squad members, and the Goon Squad member finally puts the gun in his mouth and fires it, and the shot goes through his neck. So the Goon Squad is, I don't really know how they got found out, but they got found out, and they had to go to court, and they have been convicted. I don't know if all 6 of them have been convicted, but 2 of them for sure have been convicted. One of them received 20 years. One of them received 17 and a half years. During the court, I am not making this up. I'm going to pull it up in just a minute. During the court proceedings, the man who was shot through his neck. Oh, Triana says all 6. So all 6 of them were convicted because Triana's in Mississippi. So all 6 of them were convicted. And so I just know about the one that got 20 years, another one got 17 and a half years, but the other 4 were also convicted. So the highest sentence, oh, look at this. The highest sentencing was 40 years. Oh my goodness, for torturing a black man? Oh my, maybe we on the come up, because they gave the woman who killed Botham Jones, they gave her 10 years, and she was out in what, 2 or 3? So 40 years for torture. Hey, we might be on to something. Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So all of them get convicted. So during the court proceedings for one of the members of the goon squad, he stands up and he asks the judge, "Can I address the victim?" And the judge says yes. So he stands up and he offers an apology. And the apology is offered in a way that lets you know that he's in relationship. He knows this black man and he treated this black man like this anyway. That's why we keep talking about the spirit of oneness. If you really see me as one, then you will live into that scripture that says, love thy neighbor as thyself. Because when you look at me, you should see you. When you look at me, you should see God. When you look in the mirror, you should. So if you lived that out, then you wouldn't treat me this way. And it's so amazing because the way that the newspapers, like this was an emotionally charged court proceeding, because he's up here apologizing, crying. This is the white man that's a member of the goon squad. And before he can get the apology out of his mouth good, Michael Jenkins, the one who was shot through the neck, says, "Man, we forgive you." Wait, what now? This man brutalized you, beat you, humiliated you, tried to sexually assault you over the course of at least 2 hours, put a gun in your mouth and shot it, and it went through your neck, and you say, "Man, we forgive you." Even the way that they reported it in the article, the white man himself was shocked. What? He wasn't even like, why would you? He wasn't expecting him. He didn't say that for the man to say, I forgive you. He didn't expect it at all. But that is what the black man said. And I sat with that for a few minutes, but that is not what caught me. Let me just pull up this flyer that I made for y'all so you can see this for yourself. I'm sure some of you may have already seen it. So here's Michael Jenkins, and I just pulled up different pictures of him, just going through the internet and searching for him. And you see him in the hospital. You see him holding his neck. You see him smiling. You see him in the courthouse. You see him being serious. Like all of these different faces of Michael Jenkins. But look at this right here. Look at this. Here's the part where Parker, the man that's a member of the goon squad, this first quote right up in here, where I pulled this out. So this is an excerpt. Jenkins was nodding. So Pete Parker, the man who shot him, stood up and replied. The Jenkins nodded as Parker was no, this is Parker. Oh, so Eddie Parker was the one who said, "We forgive you, man." Eddie Parker was the one who said, "We forgive you, man." He says, "We forgive you, man." That's what Eddie Parker says. But later on, Jenkins says, after he heard Elwood's apology, it meant nothing to him. So Parker says, "We forgive you." He includes Jenkins in this forgiveness, but Jenkins is like, no. It didn't mean anything to me. You can talk for you, but you cannot talk for me. And so I started asking myself this question about, okay, well, why did Parker, because he hasn't even consulted with Michael Jenkins. He hasn't even consulted with him. So why would Parker say, "We forgive you"? And why would he say that in the courthouse? That's what he says in the courthouse. Michael Jenkins does not agree with him, but Michael Jenkins does not refute what Eddie Parker says in the courthouse. He lets the forgiveness stand. He does not say anything. But later on, when he's one-on-one with the CNN reporter, he says it meant nothing. And so my question was, Why didn't you say it meant nothing when everybody was watching? When the court reporter was taking down everything that was being said, when there was a transcript that would live into perpetuity, why didn't you go on record saying, wait a minute, your apology meant nothing? Why did you let somebody else apologize for you on behalf of the evil that was done to you just because of who you were created to be? Like, why didn't you open your mouth? And why was it so important for Parker to say this at that time in front of everybody? So Jenkins silences himself in the courthouse when he is refuting and refusing the apology, but Parker stands up and proclaims forgiveness in the face of everybody. And that was when I said, oh, I think I get it now. So forgiveness is performative. Just like when I've been taught to get up there and preach in a way and act in a way and say in a way that's going to make a person feel some kind of way about me. I want you to believe that I'm the type of person who offers forgiveness. I want you to believe that I'm a type of person who is merciful and gracious and kind and loving and Christian-like. I want you to believe that I'm the type of person who will let you do whatever and I can get over it because I'm going to take the high road. Isn't that what we say? I'm going to take the high road. When they go low, we go high. We say that. Got that from Michelle Obama. We loved it. We loved it. When they go low, we go high because we want that to be part of our character, that no matter what somebody does, I'm going to stand firm in who I am and I can forgive you because I'm going to do that so that I don't let you steal my joy. So it's always something that we bring inward to us to offer the forgiveness so that through the other person's gaze, I am seen a certain way. But in my heart, I feel something totally different. In my heart, I feel something different. But in front of you, I'm going to say what I've been conditioned to say, what I believe you think, what I believe you want me to say. I'm going to behave in the way that I think is going to get me whatever it is I'm trying to get, whether that is your approval, whether that is your gaze, whether that is access, whatever, more alignment with you, closer to you, whatever it is that I'm seeking, I'm going to use forgiveness as the performance that'll get me there. And so I started thinking about church and I came up with another flyer. I was doing a whole bunch of flyers. And I remember I told you that sometimes I would feel in the pulpit like I was tap dancing, performing. That's the phrase I would use for performing. I said, okay, we got this weekly event, special performance. Every Sunday, every morning, you can find it. What location? Every other block, you can find a church. Every other block, you can find a church. And all are welcome through the front door. You can come in and sing and shout and dance and pay tithes and give your offerings and pray. But only true worshipers can fully participate. That means lead ministry, preach, mentor, preach, and teach. Oh, I said preach twice. And so what do I mean by the true worshipers? You are the ones who get to participate fully, because in the church, we have a rule that certain people are not allowed to be up front. In some churches, women are not allowed to be up front. In some churches, people who are LGBTQ are not allowed to be up front. People who are transgender have more rights in the United Methodist Church than people who are gay. I'm just saying. That's how it works. So people who are Black sometimes are not allowed to be up front, depending on the nature of the church. So you have all of these separations that happen between the people, because we want to make sure that you are true and you are right and you are holy, and that you understand this call that's on your life. So you got to be a certain kind of worshiper. You got to be a true worshiper, because we talk about it's in the Bible, the true worshipers. When Jesus is at the well, the true worshipers know. So we separate ourselves. You can't just be a worshiper. You got to be a true worshiper. So what happens then is that we figure out, okay, well, there are only certain ones of us that are going to be accepted. What do I have to do to be the one who is acceptable, to be the one, to become the one that is a true worshiper? So whatever I have to do, if I have to give tithes, then that's what I will do. If I have to show up every Sunday, then that's what I'll do. If I have to volunteer all the time, then that's what I'll do. Whatever I have to do in order to get this label, in order to get this certain gaze on me, then I am willing to do it, which means I am willing to perform. The pastor is in the same position. What do I have to do to make sure that I don't make these folks mad? Because I don't want them to lead a church. Because if they lead a church, they're going to take their money with them. And we need their butts in the seat so we get this money. Why do we need money? Because we got to have money to pay the rent. We got to have money to pay these light bills. We got to have money to pay my salary. We got to have money. We can't function without money. So I can't afford for people not to be in this church because I'm dependent on their money. So because I'm dependent on their money, I got to figure out whatever it takes to keep that money rolling in. And so I'm willing to perform. So if the parishioner's performing to get the title of true worshiper or whatever the title is, and if the pastor is performing to make sure that they keep the butts in the seat, then what's really happening on Sunday morning? Nothing but performance. And so if I'm forgiving folks before they can even get the apology out of their mouth, in the case of the people who were killed at the Emmanuel Church, in South Carolina, I get the Carolinas mixed up. I think it's South Carolina. They were killed. Do you remember Bree Newsom? Bree Newsom was a Black woman activist. She's the one who was responsible for going and getting that Confederate flag off of that pole, because the very place where they were going to have, they were going to host the funerals, there was this Confederate flag up, and she was like, what? And so like their bodies are not even in the ground yet, and y'all gonna just desecrate this whole, she was just like, oh. And so she enlisted the help of a white man activist who distracted the law enforcement officer long enough for her to get that flag down. It was part of a whole organized, it was a big organized tactic. It was a strategy where they intentionally chose the Black woman because they knew that it would draw the attention of the police officer, and then they wanted to have the white person to have the police officer stand down long enough for them to execute their plan. So it really bothers me. I just thought about that. It bothers me when people act like Rosa Parks. She just decided one day that she wasn't gonna get up. Like, no, this was part of a strategic plan. Like this was organizing at its best, right? And so this was not something that was just done haphazardly. And they tell the story that way on purpose so that we won't think about the brilliant minds of organizers, especially Black organizers during the 60s. And some of us continue to use those strategies and those tactics today. And so so forgiveness now, if I said it in the context of it being performative, it makes a whole lot more sense to me. Oh, I get it. You've been conditioned to believe that you have to do this in order to benefit from it. You're really not trying to forgive the person because you think it's going to make you holy, because you really feel like Michael Jenkins. Man, I ain't studying you nor your apology, but I ain't going to say that out loud. Out loud, I'm gonna say what's gonna make me look good, because I want people to see me a certain kind of way. And why is that? Because we continue to live through the white gaze. I was just talking to somebody the other day. He had been reading the Equal Justice Initiative calendar. And in that calendar, the Equal Justice Initiative issues a calendar every single year with little tidbits on it. The physical calendar has tidbits. The digital calendar has a whole lot more information. And it just talks about the history of racial injustice in this world. Every day it has a tidbit, just a little bit that fits into the calendar square. Rectangle, just a little bit. And he was reading it, and they were talking about how Black men were hypersexualized. All they wanted to do was have sex all the time. They wanted to rape the white women, and that's why they had to keep the women pure. And he was reading this, and he started asking himself, am I hypersexual? Is it something wrong with me? Because, I like women. I like to see them. I like to touch them. I like to think about them. I like to be with them. I like to be in. So maybe I'm hypersexual. So I started thinking about and I started talking to my therapist, and we were trying to figure out, is something wrong with me? So the therapist was helping him work through it. And I said, wait a minute, let's think about this for just a minute. You read the tidbit about how white people felt about Black men. And because you were listening and reading and internalizing what they said, you began to look at yourself and say, is this something wrong with me because of how they see me? So the way that they see me dictates how I feel about myself. And so since I'm concerned about how they see me, I got to behave and perform in a way that makes sure that I'm not seen this way. I'm not hypersexual. He was trying to convince himself so that he can convince the world that he's not hypersexual. And I said, well, what you have to convince yourself of is that you need to get out of this white gaze. You only started questioning the essence of who you are because of what they said about you. So we're performing for folks all the time because we think that this is the way to get to Jesus, not because that's what Jesus said, but because that's what they said Jesus said. It's through their gaze that we know Jesus. It's not through our gaze. Phyllis Brown says this a lot. She says, Black people, with all of our ingenuity, we have invented all kind of stuff. We done invented the hot comb, the cotton gin, the filament in the light. We give all the credit to Albert Einstein, but the Black man came along and perfected that thing and made it, mass produced it. So now all of us got the light bulbs. We've done all of this, and we could not come up with our own religion. Like, what? Why is we worshiping this God that they've given us? I'm not talking about the God that is. I'm talking the God that they've given us, this white, blonde hair, blue-eyed, good abs. Like, what? So we're performing for this gaze of the white Jesus, and that includes forgiving everybody for everything. So if we could just start there, if we could just start with, I'm just gonna stop believing I don't believe I gotta forgive everybody. If we could just start with that thought, instead of saying, well, I want to divest from Jesus, I want to dismantle religion. Instead of going that far, can you just say it is not necessary for me to forgive your evil in order for Jesus to accept me? Can we start there? And one of the things I thought that could help us think about that some more is this verse right here. Here's the verse from Psalm 34, verse 1. It's the New International Version. It says, I will extol the Lord at all times. His praise will always be on my lips. If you learned the Bible like I did, I memorized it from the King James Version. So it says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be on in my mouth. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. That's the King James Version. I wanted you to see it from the New International Version because of this piece of information that they give us about David. This is what David said when he pretended to be insane before Abimelech, who drove him away and he left. This is what David was saying. He pretended to be insane. And as he's pretending to be insane, this is what he's writing down in his journal. Because Psalms, we talk about Psalms being in the Bible, and because we are reading them, we think about them as a book that we are reading. So Psalms, we talk about chapters and verses, but Psalms really, it's like poetry. It's like spoken words. When you go to a real spoken word event where they got the music playing in the background and they just vibe into the music and they're speaking their words, speaking their truth, then that is the spoken word. So that's what Psalms really are. Okay, Phyllis Brown, it is not necessary that I forgive your evil. It is not. It is not necessary for me to forgive your evil. What you need to do is forgive yourself and try to be a better person. That's what I need you to do. So the Psalms they're poems that were set to music. So they are songs that were sung. So here David is pretending to be crazy and he's writing these words. So he's performing for Abimelech. Now he is Abimelech got him scared, got him running scared. He really did leave. He left, he ran, and he was hiding in a cave. And he was trying not to be found, but he did get found. And when he was found, he was trying to figure out, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Let me act crazy so they won't think it's me. Because the real David that they know don't act crazy. So I'm going to pretend to be something that I'm not, so that when Abimelech sees me, he'll see what I want him to see, and that will free me. He won't see who I am. He'll see me for who I want him to see, and that will free me. And so many of us are performing for the white gaze because we think that's our way to liberation. If I just let them believe that I'm better than they think, what do I have to do to make them think that I'm not what they see? See me like you need to see me. However you need to see me that way, because that'll free me. Because I can make sure that I'm safe if you just okay with me. If I can get you to be okay with me, then maybe I can be free. Some of us already know that ain't the way to liberation. Because you can be whoever you want to be. You can pretend and you can perform all you want. The system of whiteness does not care. System of whiteness does not care. The system of white inhumanity does not care about your performing. It's all a construct so that you can be like David. This conditioning, this performing I'm going to do it so much that it's always in my mouth. So Eddie Parker gets up to apologize probably without even thinking. Botham Jones' brother apologizes to the white woman that killed his brother probably without even thinking. It's just rote. I'm just supposed to do it because this programming is continually in my mouth. It's all I know. I don't even stop to think about it. I just do it. And then later on, Botham Jones' brother, like, I wish I could take it back. You can't take that back. You can be sorry about it for sure. You can wish you hadn't said it, but you can't take it back. You can't unring the bell. So what if we started with forgiveness and say, I do not have to do this so that you can see me the way you want to see me, so that I can hope you'll leave me alone. We had people back during the times of Jim Crow and the height of lynching, where the white inhumane people would come to the door to get whoever they wanted to get. And we would let them have whoever they wanted. If they wanted the woman in the house, we let them have them. If they wanted the man in the house, we let them. If they wanted Emmett Till from the house, we let them have them. Why? Because we're thinking, look, we got to figure out how to keep ourselves safe. And sometimes we have to offer ourselves up to them in order for us to be safe. Now, with the terrorism that they were going through, I understand it. It's no telling. I probably would have done the same. I'm sure. Now, I don't know if I would have done the same thing or not. I probably would have got killed. I just probably would have gotten killed. But I can't blame them for that, because I don't know what it's like to walk out the door and you can smell the stench of that strange fruit hanging from the tree. I don't know what that's like to walk by that body and see its burnt corpse. I don't know what that's like. So I can only imagine. I'm saying, look, whatever we need to do, I got to keep us as safe as I can. So if they come in here and they ask for Denise, you better get on out of there, because we got to keep people safe. I get that. I understand it theoretically. I don't know what that feels like, but I understand that theoretically. But now, for me to say, oh yeah, whatever you want, just bust into my house and get them. Yeah, come on, Mouser. No. My ancestors allow me to carry that trauma in my body so that I will continue to rise up with them. So in the ways that they were able to rise up, that's what they did. So in the ways that I am able to rise up, that's what I'm going to do. So let me tell you what you're not going to do. You're not going to keep me rehearsing and performing this behavior so that I can look good in your eyes, because maybe then you'll leave me alone. That's not the way to liberation. The way to liberation is to say, no matter what, if this is my day, this is my day. I'm willing. Let me have a talk with my family. Let me sit everybody down, because I've set everybody down in my house, and I tell them, look, if If they kill me and they come and tell you that I committed suicide, they'll lie. You need to investigate. I have those conversations with people. I have those conversations with people that say to me, Denise, I'm worried about you. I'm worried that people are coming from you. And I say, I know that they are, but I cannot be afraid. I got to still live. I got to still go out there. I got to still say it. I have those conversations. Get your people ready. Look, we do not have to continue to perform this behavior because we're hoping that it'll set us free. Only thing that's going to set us free is recognizing the divinity that we are, recognizing the essence of our godness, and living into that, walking boldly into that, being unafraid of that, and being willing to challenge whatever threatens that, whatever systems, racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, ageism, ableism, fat phobia, whatever it is that's challenging our oneness, our Sawubona, whatever that is. We got to say, no, I'm fighting you. I'm fighting you. I got to rise up. Phyllis Brown and I have been talking about this. You're going to either rise up and roll out or stay and get rolled over. Them your choices. You're either going to rise up and roll out. I'm leaving this, man. I'm not doing this no more. Or you're going to stay and get rolled over. The choice is yours. Now, hey, listen. I'm just presenting the choices for your consideration. You choose for yourself. All I really wish people would do, I'm honest about this. All I wish people would do is to tell me what your choice is. Because I try to build with everybody. And I would rather you tell me, Denise, look, I have decided to stay and get rolled over. So go on over there and talk to them other folks who want to rise up and roll out, because I can't help you. I'm not on your team. I'm on this team. I would really appreciate that. No judgment here. I would say, thanks for letting me know. I so appreciate your honesty. Thank you. And I will do what? I go on. Every day that we continue to live in this craziness. So the abortion case was heard today. They reducing Trump's bond. They're talking about they're removing DEI from all of these places. We got how many $7 billion we paying into for the war, for the military. We rebuilding these countries. We sending aid to countries that we are killing by giving them the guns. And then if they want to try to get to the aid, we shoot them because they trying to get to the aid. Like, this world that we are living in, I understand Harriet Tubman more and more and more. Look, I'm gonna have to kill some of y'all. Y'all can't go with us because you threaten my freedom. You can't come. So just tell me. That way we ain't got to have no harsh words. We ain't got to fall out with each other. We ain't got to get mad. We ain't got to talk bad about each other. Let's just keep it real. That's the only thing I ask. Just let us know. Is you going to rise up and roll out, or are you going to stay and get rolled over? Decide for yourself. And if we continue to perform these acts of forgiveness, just because we have been programmed to do so, just because we believe that the white gaze is more important to our lives than anything else, then you're going to stay and get rolled over. Those of us who are willing to say, look, I'm not doing this anymore, start with the forgiveness. Let's start practicing it. Here's the way to practice it. Same way I did with my friends, with my lover. You don't owe me the apology. You owe it to yourself. What did Triana say? I only owe myself forgiveness. I got to make sure that I'm living into my character, the essence of who I am. And in relationship with folks, when I realize that I have let myself, this is how we can reframe sin. What sin means literally is to miss the mark. So whatever mark you have for your life, when you say, like me, I say, I am not going to be a liar. I cannot say that I cannot stand people who lie, and I don't like when people lie to me and then turn around and lie to folks. I can't do that. So the other day, I left out some stuff in a conversation. I left it out. And when the person walked away, I said, you know what? I think that's what they mean by a lie of omission. So I circled back to the person. I said, you know what? If I had to have this conversation in my mind about whether or not I lied to you, I must have lied to you. Let me clear this up, because the one thing I don't want to be is a liar. So I had sinned when I committed with the sin of omission, right? When the lie of omission was my sin, because I set the mark for myself not to be a liar. So when I missed my mark, that's when I sinned. So then I had to look at myself and say, girl, wait a minute. That's not who you want to be. You said you're not going to be a liar. Okay, well, that means we got to circle back. You got to make sure that you stand firm in who you are always, at all times, in front of all people. You need to circle back and own up to this. And that's exactly what I did. The person was like, wait, what are you talking about? I was like, look, this is not even about you. I circled back for me. That's who I circle back for, not for you. So if we can start there, somebody give you an apology, I can't do nothing with your apology. You need to do something with your apology. Work on yourself. I don't need your apology. It's not affecting my life at all. Phyllis Brown and I have these conversations too. Like we're talking about Bill Clinton wanting to apologize for the 3 strikes and you're outlaw, the crime bill that he signed. What is that? What has the apology done for us? Mass incarceration has skyrocketed because of that bill. What has that apology done for us? How has that changed anything? It has not. I don't need the apology. I need you to fix it. I need you to circle back. I need some restorative justice. I need some reparations. I need some universal health care. That's what I need, reproductive rights. That's what I need you to do. Stop apologizing. That's what I need you to do. Here is Phyllis Brown. While he was being crucified, Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And I'm going to say this again. That's what they say he said. The people who wrote that wasn't there. How they know he said it? They wasn't there. They wasn't there. We sing that song. Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Somebody gonna sing that in a couple of weeks. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? And everybody gonna be, the church gonna be so somber, people gonna be crying, were you there? The answer is no. So how you know that's what he said? And so now these are the words that you have continually in my mouth. So I'm practicing them all the time, which is why I'm performing this forgiveness, because it helps me be better through the gaze of Jesus, the white Jesus. Let's start by saying, I don't even believe that he said that. Prove it. Can you prove he said it? What was that I was looking at? I was watching something and they said, no. The truth is about facts and science. Faith ain't facts. Your faith ain't facts. Prove it to me that he said it is a deceptive trick that many of us continue to fall prey to. I fell prey to it hook, line, and sinker. I'm talking about I dove in head first, trying to climb my way out. I hope some of y'all will come along with me. Thank y'all for joining me for the good fight. Right here every Tuesday at 7 o'clock CDT. I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Same time, same place. Let's see how it's going to unfold next time. Wait. Before we go, here come another one. Girl, truth is just a lie. Truth is just a lie many people agreed on. I love it. I'm going to have to write that down. I got a sign on here that say, be fearlessly authentic. I'm going to put that up there too. I love it. Thank y'all so much. I love it. See y'all next week.